All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Google Hangout. It's great to have you. So today we're going to be talking to John Clare, who is our featured programmer, our first featured programmer of the week. So how are things going in Austin today?
Oh, it's a beautiful spring day. A good day after a weekend of storms.
Yeah,
It's nice to have a sunny work day.
yeah, I'm jealous. Here on the East Coast, it's very rainy. So as content director for KMFA Austin, what does your job entail?
Well, I get to set the sound of the station here at KMFA, and so it's a real blast. And that deals with not only the music, but with the announcers. That's
Yeah.
the bulk of my job, and so it's a lot of fun. It deals a lot of listening, not only to our air signal, but to listen to new CDs and sort of work with the library. It's a lot of fun. And it's
Yeah.
an amazing team here. I'm so tickled to have Diane and Renee and Chris and Jeffrey on board here.
Yeah, that's the best to have a nice team surrounding you. So what's your favorite part of your job?
Um, it's listening. It really is. I'm such a nerd, and so when I get envelopes and new releases, it's like Christmas every day in a way. So it's a lot of
Yeah,
fun to go through and say, oh, what's this? And hearing of different things, whether it's on social media, YouTube, wherever. Then when the physical product shows up or the downloads come through, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
yeah, definitely. So given how radio has changed a lot in the last 15 to 20 years, what's your vision for how radio can grow with both its local broadcasting and online audiences as well?
Well, I think it's a real challenge these days for broadcasters.
Mm.
I never knew how much video production I'd have to learn as an audio guy,
Right.
and that was a big deal. But technology's gotten so much better, and it's come across in the product. Nowadays artists don't have to have um, a contract with a major label to share their music. That's still an awesome way, and probably the way that the major folks go. But now you can find out, chamber music in Mexico, and hear this amazing Chinese group, and have it in your backyard. So that creates a lot of challenges for us as programmers to have so much content.
Right.
Um, but it also allows us to have musicians in our studio and be able to film them. It allows us to have multiple streams. We just did a really neat encore, sort of pop-up stream with Nico Muhly, and so we had 24 hours of Muhly and his influences right here because he had a world premiere here, and so that was something
Yeah.
brand new for us. That there's a lot of places, King FM, QXR,
Mm.
with Minnesota Public Radio has multiple streams, and that's, I think, something that is an addition to folks that listen to radio that can be kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I had all the answers, though, I'd write a book and I wouldn't be in public radio. No.
Yeah, of course. So on the topic of music, on classical music, do you think the term classical is still a good relevant term for it?
It's better than it is. It is and it isn't. It's what we
Yeah.
have. If you want to call it art music, art song, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just sort of a label. It's not, and I think it could mean just anything, not just music from Haydn and Mozart and these guys from 1750 to 1820.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it really does, and I don't. It's like, yeah, classical music can be cool. It could be Mother Falcon, or it could be Peter Stopczynski and Golden Hornet
Yeah.
Project or something or other. It doesn't have to be Time for Three. You know,
Yeah,
um,
it's so broad now.
One of my favorite groups is Ethel, and they were a string quartet, but you'd never dream, the Gregorian string quartet, the Paganini quartet. Hear this
Yeah.
quartet, they're like, oh, well, I don't know, Fred Ethel, yeah, sure, we'll call ourselves Ethel. So
Yeah.
the label, they are great classical musicians, even though they're new. So I think
Yeah.
people get wound up on it, and I think the historians can figure out what this kind of great eclecticism we have now. I just want to listen to great stuff.
Right. Actually, probably in 50 years from now, they'll have a good term for it, I suppose.
Yeah, really.
So, yeah, so who's the classical music radio listener today besides someone just listening in their car?
Well, I think they're all over the place, and I think
Mm.
it can be not just concert halls, but Spotify, and that
Yeah.
they're all over the place. I had a wonderful breakfast this last week with a fellow radio programmer that was coming in for a workshop here in Austin, and we're starting to talk about not only our coffee, but we're talking about Bach and Mozart. And the waitress, who was probably about 24 and had a nose ring and some tattoos here on her arm, said, "Oh, are you talking about KMFA? That's my station. I love," she's like, she's telling me my Sunday lineup, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And there was this visiting radio programmer, so I couldn't make that up. I was just like, no, really, this, I was just like, holy cow. So I think it is, a mix. When we get older, we sometimes have more money and more time to, go to concerts, and so you might see that sort of older audience. But, when you're 30 or 24 or 18 and running around, you may not have that income for the concert, but you still like it. You're going to the library. You're grateful there's radio on that has classical music. So it's hard for me. I had a great friend tell me once that you have your mom listening and you have professors listening. You got to kind of be polite and you want to be smart. But you don't want to be condescending. But so it's hard for me to picture that one person.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've worked at a number of different radio stations across the U.S., right? So in various cities. So I imagine each station would have its own culture and way of doing things. What kind of differences did you find, at these different stations?
Oh, yeah, I've been blessed. I started out in Kansas and worked at NPR and all over the country. And so there are different shops sometimes with very sort of specific roles. In some places I actually had a recording engineer that was just, I'd never really worked with a producer. I had to do everything myself.
Right. Nice luxury.
Yeah, and so when you have this sort of, departments that are very clear, it helps out, I think, a ton. And they all have cool people. They all have to fundraise, and fundraising is pretty much the same everywhere, in that sense that it always, it seems like there's an exponential curve. The first day is slow, then it rises, and last day, holy cow, So it's been a real blast, and I've met so many folks, and then there are neat people that I deal with at labels, the composers, the musicians. If I interview, Josh Bell's going to get tired of me interviewing him one of these days.
Right.
But and it's neat to see someone that's fairly close to my age just sort of mature in this this last Bach album, to hear someone and lead the Academy of St. Martin Fields, be the music director now. It's like if you'd told me that 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh yeah, right, sure, Josh Bell.
Yeah, right.
Like he's just a soloist, whatever. He wants to do this and that. But it's to see these sort of things. Hilary Hahn, I saw as a teenager, and now is going to be a mom and just doing all this amazing stuff, and just to see them, it's so cool. The people across, whether it's the artist or the workers, it's been a real joy.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful to see so much history with music.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, it was such a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much for joining us in this hangout and being our first featured programmer at Crossover Media.
I'm honored.
I'm so glad to have you. So thank you again, and we'll be putting this hangout up on our YouTube page. So if you'd like to see this hangout again, you'll be able to do so. And thanks again. Take care.